Welcome back to the Bionicle Inspiration series, the show where we spotlight mocks from the Bionicle community and we focus on one specific theme, and we just sort of talk about some of the techniques that are going on in the mocks, what sort of things they're specifically doing, and I give you any sort of like tips and advice that I can to help you improve the way that you build your Bionicle stuff. In this episode today, I want to talk about the concept of part spamming, which is a pretty, I think, helpful and unique technique, which essentially what you do is you just get one piece and you kind of more or less spam it. You get a whole bunch of them, you put them on the mock in some fashion, and it's a great way of creating textures. It's a really nice way of getting some beautiful shaping, and it just helps you achieve looks that you kind of can't in other ways. And it sometimes is a pretty easy thing to do because you can just jump onto Bricklink or buy multiple copies of a sort of cheaper or maybe more expensive set, whatever, and you'll just have a lot of one piece, and that way you can get some nice results with it too. And sometimes if you buy in bulk, you can get stuff cheaper. So there's pros and cons to it. Obviously, it does sometimes cost a lot to buy bulk of one piece. Depends what piece you're buying. But let's dive in today and discuss some of the many ways that this technique is super helpful and looks pretty cool. We will begin this episode with an absolutely exquisite mock by Woomy World, and this is called Bowreel Vixen. So, just utterly beautiful creature that he's made here, and some brilliant examples of part spamming. So there's kind of a couple of them here. The first one is the inclusion of all of the Strack, like ice, sort of ice shards, I guess you could call them, that are on the shoulders of the Lego set Strack that came from the Glatorian wave in... Oh, was that like 2008 or 2009? Can't remember exactly, but I'm sure people will let me know. Regardless, though, I've always enjoyed those types of pieces because, I don't know, it's just a great way of showing off some sort of like elemental power with your, ice Toa or ice-themed Bionicle. And, there's a few other pieces that sort of resemble the like elemental quality of a specific character. But I don't know, I just think they're really like helpful, useful pieces. And it's lovely to see them being used here as a sort of fur texture because... it works perfectly for that, and this could be more of a sort of like ice wolf, and the description here says that it is a rare species found in frigid regions of the universe, so it kind of works in that sense. But I just adore that. I think it's the perfect looking fur texture and the way they've been placed, and it just looks so like flowing and organic. It's absolutely gorgeous and just looks exactly like you'd expect the fur on a wolf to look. It's absolutely brilliant. So brilliant use of just repeating that piece there and perfectly creating that kind of furry texture. The other sort of furrier texture that's being created here is the tail on this wolf. It's using a whole bunch of different protector masks. Specifically, I believe it's the water, ice, and stone protector, I want to say. They've kind of cleverly not shown the backside and a few other sides of this on Flickr here, which is fair, because I'm sure from certain angles it may not look as nice, but, you don't always have to display a mock from a 360-degree perspective. It can be more of a statue that can be viewed from one specific area. Still, it could look absolutely lovely from all angles, I'm just assuming here, but regardless, the beautiful transition between those colors there of that sort of, very light trans blue into sort of almost that purple there, just a lovely kind of gradient of color that's just created from those pieces, which is exquisite, but also the kind of repeated texture of just shoving all of those different masks together like that. Just looks lovely. It kind of helps to continue that sort of like furrier texture, and it looks very similar to like you would see on fur, just a whole bunch of the hair or feathers or whatever kind of furry looking texture you're looking at on whatever creature it is that you're building. Just a bunch of those being repeated like that. It just perfectly captures that. So absolutely exquisite, and just in general a really nice looking tail design for a wolf lair, so really nice. The head design's also cool, brilliant shaping there, perfectly achieves the look of the head there, and I don't know, it's almost slightly fox-like. I see this as a wolf, maybe it's a sort of wolf-fox hybrid, hard to say, but yeah, just brilliant shaping, and the pop of those eyes really shines. That's awesome. I apologize if you hear background noise right now. I don't know what is happening outside my house. Some guy is, I think, trying to reverse into his driveway. I don't know. If you can hear that, I apologize. The ears on this are also brilliant. I believe these pieces, bit more of an obscure piece, but a really solid part use. So for the ears there, it's on one of these Fantastic Beast, somewhat Harry Potter sets. And it's the mouth on whatever that creature is there. I do not know my Harry Potter lore very well, so I'm not sure what that one is called. But yeah, just taking that bottom jaw piece there, brilliant. The shaping of it is perfect for, you know, dog ears in this sense. And yeah, gorgeous. Absolutely fantastic. So cannot stop raving about this mock. Even the fact that he has like croissant eyebrows in white, amazing. Lots to love about this. One final thing I will say, because I can't stop myself. The leg design is very cool, including those sort of boat stud pieces there to sort of act as the sort of, I don't know, kind of bridge between the upper and lower leg, kind of sort of elbow knee, depending on how you look at it. I don't know. It's lovely. The textures of it help to kind of flow into the sort of smoother look of those legs there, using some typical Hero Factory armor and some of those sort of 2x2 cone pieces as well. Just a lovely looking foot design. Or arm design, depends on how you look at it. I guess you'd say feet. I don't really know. It still works. But yeah, exquisite looking design and just a really nice way of achieving a beautiful smoothness all throughout there. Love this mock. Really, really cool. On to the next mock now. This is by Moko, and this is called Woodloose Mech. So this to me looks very obviously inspired by like a Slater or a Roly Poly, whatever you want to call them. I always called them Roly Polys when I grew up. I think that might be an Australian thing. I don't know. But yeah, this sort of beautiful bug-like kind of shell or texture on the sort of back of this creature here is perfectly achieved by using some of these shoulder pieces that come on quite a few different Hero Factory sets, and they come in a few different colors as well. Specifically on like Evo, for example, they do come in this gunmetal color, and they're gorgeous. They're absolutely fantastic. They're great looking pieces just in general, but seeing them all sort of aligned in this manner here really effectively creates this sort of bug-like look for this creature here. And to a degree, that's kind of the bulk of this mock. The rest of this is a lot of sort of smaller little pieces that achieve like the feet and the head and the other like antenna and bug face things. So it's really nice to see how some really solid-looking part spamming like that could kind of be the whole crux of your mock to some degree. So do that. Have a look around in your collection. I don't know, do you have bulk of one specific piece? Maybe you're like me and you've bought some bulk lots, and for some reason they had like 5 copies of Gully or something, and you're like, cool, I have like 5 Gully masks. Maybe I can do something with that. Or, I don't know, can you just jump on Bricklink or eBay or somewhere? Is someone selling bulk of one piece for fairly cheaply? Because, you know, you'd be surprised. Sometimes you can get a whole bunch of one piece for some pretty decent prices these days. So have a look around, see what you can find. Regardless though, yeah, fantastic look to this mock here. I do also enjoy, like I said, the sort of bug face features and things, using some of those crowbar minifigure utensils, as well as the guns from Star-Lord, from the MCU Star-Lord Guardians of the Galaxy figure. I think all that works really well at being that sort of really creepy crawly looking kind of face aesthetic that you often find on bugs. I don't know all the sort of technical terms for that sort of thing, but those pieces are perfect for that, and it does create a lovely looking face design. I also enjoy the subtle bit of like trans pink for the eyes here on this creature. There's a couple breakdown photos that actually give you a pretty decent look at how this is made. So by all means, if you want to do something similar, or I don't know, just want to see how it's done, because it's always pretty informative for people who like to build. Yeah, those eyes there, I think just a nice little extra bit of contrast there, and I think just picking something like a really sort of bright pink like that really does make it pop. So I enjoy that for the eyes there. And yeah, like I said, feel free to browse and have a look at this image here that sort of shows the overall breakdown of this. It's really quite nice. And also check the links in the description, because over on this mock there's a link on the Flickr. I'll actually just chuck it in the description as well, that show a few more breakdown images of this, and also it's just sort of like Moko's blog in general, so by all means check out that blog, because he will have similar stuff like that elsewhere, and Moko is one of the best builders of our age, I would argue, so it would definitely be worth studying and seeing the sort of cool techniques and things that he has there to show you, so definitely take a look at that. Beautiful stuff. On to the next mock now. This is by Locky, and this is called Cap Peel. So I think the part spamming on this is a little less sort of prominent, but I think it's using it in some more kind of clever ways that I wanted to elaborate on. So the specific piece that's being used here is one of the disc launcher pieces. It did come in a couple different sort of like Hodika, Metru, or not Hodika, but Metru Nui style sets. Like it specifically came on Nadiki, for example, and some of the other Vaki as well. So, you know, it's a piece that came in a few different things here. But I like how it's being used in multiple places on this mock. The sort of major place it's being used is on the legs. It forms pretty much the entirety of that leg there. And it works pretty well. It's sort of like a larger thigh for this leg, but it's also this quite nice sort of like slimmed down frame, which works really well. I think it's just a really unique design, and in general, there's just a really clever part use for that piece there. So really solid looking design. I also enjoy how it sort of ties in with the rest of the aesthetic of this MOC, specifically on the torso. That's just a straight up Hero Factory 1.0 torso piece there. No armor on it, just plain and simple, but that kind of works. This MOC does have that more sort of like stripped back, unarmored, sort of almost like prototype look to it, for example. And I love that. I think that's great. It's a lovely looking aesthetic, and yeah, it's a deliberately sort of unarmored, very kind of low part count on this MOC, but that's been done very deliberately. You know, it's like in photography, for example, something completely unrelated to Lego to a degree. There's people who like to take photographs that are deliberately out of focus or deliberately blurry, but it's communicating something. It's saying something about the image, about the sort of deeper meaning behind it, whatever you want to say about it. So by all means, you can do that when you're building your MOCs as well. You can build it very simplistic, or you can have one or two pieces making up the entirety of the torso or the legs or something like that. But you got to be doing it for a reason to a degree. And the reason can be as simple as that. Oh, I just wanted a really slim look for my MOC. Great, perfect, you know. Or if you want to be all artistic about it, you can be like, oh, it reflects their backstory and their inner past, and the blue is reminiscent of their depression, and I just said reminiscent instead of reminiscent, but it still counts. So, you know, something like that, you know. If you want to go a bit more deep with it, sure. If you don't, that's fine too. But it's always nice seeing some sort of like, I guess, justification in that sense on a MOC. It's pretty cool. I also like how that exact same piece here is being used as like a kind of scarf on this MOC. It's just sort of flowing in the breeze behind it here, and it looks like, I don't know, maybe it's a little bit more bent than it should be, or maybe that's just the way that it's been placed on the MOC. It is a bit of a bendy piece because you sort of push it together to fire the disc, so it's naturally bendy. So I don't know how illegal that is inherently, but it works well. It looks cool as a scarf. It's a nice looking aesthetic, and I like how he's used some of the those spinner pieces from like the Vizirac as kind of like the way that the scarf is like wrapping around the neck almost. That's just a fun way of doing it. So yeah, it's a cool design. So I like that. Using it on the legs, using it as a scarf. Maybe you could do that. Instead of it actually being part spamming where it's the same piece being kind of repeated to sort of achieve something, can you actually put the same piece in various different areas on the MOC that communicate different things? So use it as a scarf, use it as legs. Heck, maybe they also could have used it here as arms, and maybe the sort of disc shooter end bit there could have been like the fingers or something. You know, something like that. So I don't know, have a think about it. Can you just repeat the exact same piece on a MOC, but have it be different parts of the MOC for different things, all that sort of stuff? You know, I think it's a valid way of building, and it's just a pretty ergonomical way of doing it too. You know, you're using less pieces, but you still get a nice result. It works well. So maybe if you're building on a budget, that's a good way to do it. Something to think about. But yeah, in general, really nice aesthetic to this MOC. I love the sort of big pop of trans green there as well. Gorgeous. On to the next MOC now. This one is by GK733, and this is called Krater. So of course, for those of you who don't know, this is based off the Krater from the Rakshi. Of course, the Rakshi sets came with a whole bunch of these little kind of like slug worm things that sort of, well, the backstory is more or less that the Rakshi are inherently these creatures, and they're sort of like almost wearing armor that actually is the actual kind of Rakshi thing. So yeah, it's a bit more of a unique story for them and stuff like that. And you know, it's another thing to collect, like how people collect masks. You can collect the Krater, and they come in a whole bunch of different shapes and sizes and all sorts of cool stuff, you know, or not shapes, but like variants and differences and all that sort of stuff. So they're really cool. But it's nice to see a sort of scaled up version of it here that you can kind of really soak in some more details with. So it's pretty cool. I love the choice of using the Vladik mask from the Knights Kingdom Lego set, Vladik, and using that to sort of form the base of the kind of body here. So yeah, Knights Kingdom was an awesome theme, had some really cool pieces that are pretty compatible with your Bionicle, or your Hero Factory, or your Construction in general. It is inherently a Construction theme, so of course it works. But I love the sort of smoothness of that Vladik mask and the beautiful kind of sort of double colors on this, sort of kind of a marbled look to it of the dark red and the black. There's something very sinister about that, and the sort of general shape and smoothness on it. I don't know, it works surprisingly well for that of a bug, more specifically, I guess, a more evil bug, because it's, you know, Makutari in that sense. It's perfect. I love seeing them together like that because it does form this very sort of slimy, bug-like look to it, which is pretty perfect for a Krater. So not only is this a really nice example of part spamming, and it's just a nice part use in general. So very, very cool. And yeah, by all means, check out some of your Knights Kingdom sets. They had really, really good pieces in them, and you could do some cool stuff like this. So yeah, it's also nice to see using part spamming, you can really effectively achieve the look of like a snake body, or, you know, sort of longer sort of flowing things like this, whether it's a snake or a bug or whatever. I think part spamming really naturally lends itself to that, you know, specific type of mock. So yeah. Additionally, with the head design there, also just looks pretty cool. I like the fact that the head almost sort of opens in a very unique way, that it's not just sort of a jaw moving down, the jaw sort of like splits and opens in that sense, and just teeth everywhere. I don't know, there's something very accurate to that, because that is how they looked, I believe, in the movie. Maybe they didn't. I think that's more the actual Rakshi's heads. Might be wrong there, but still, it's a really unique and different way of depicting a head here on a creature. And I think, by all means, if you can kind of branch away from the norm that you typically see on sort of real-world animals and creatures and things, and go for a more sort of alien look, I don't know, it might just set your mock apart. So I think this is a nice way of doing the head design there. It's very sinister and very creepy looking. It's cool. It's really cool. So that's it for this fantastic little Krata mock. Great example of part spamming here. Let's move over to another great example of part spamming. This one is by Fuzzy Builds, and this is called Serpent Knight. So this is using some of the pieces from the Fantoka sets. They had these awesome kind of like jetpack engine pieces. You can specifically see them here on Liwa Fantoka, but they also came on some of the Matoran sets and a few other different things here and there. So you might have a fair few in your collection if you bought that entire wave of sets. And yeah, they're nice pieces, and it's great to see them being used here in a lot of different ways, whether that's with your sort of typical part spamming of, you know, putting it all together, or just putting it on different parts of the mock here. It's really cool. So yeah, like I said, that tail design there, kind of a tail, maybe it's another head, not totally sure, but it looks cool. Yeah, really nice sort of smooth looking design, all those engine pieces one after the other there. Great sort of like sort of flowing look. They all sort of just sort of ooze as if they become one piece almost. It's really cool. So great example of that. Nice way of using those jet engine pieces. But we can see them being used again on the torso, but also on the head. And that's a lovely head design. The two of them together like that forms this really uniquely, like almost like a hammerhead shark kind of shape to the head. But also there's sort of like natural sort of slits in the in that jetpack piece. When you put the two together like that, it almost sort of forms this like eye hole. It's really, really cool, really unique. So yeah, honestly, fantastic, and just a really unique head design. So I think this is another beautiful example of why you should be playing around with some part spamming, is because you can come up with really unique designs like this. I'm sure, I mean, he even said in the description here that he has 14 of these Bionicle engine jetpack pieces in the mock here. So yeah, maybe that could be like a challenge for yourself. Can I use 20 of this piece, or even just like 10 of this piece, or even 5? You know, it doesn't have to be huge numbers necessarily. Not that 15's inherently huge, but you know what I mean. And yeah, just sort of, I don't know, what do they fit into? Do these pieces have similar textures to other parts? What do they complement naturally? I don't know. And can you just kind of find some nice part uses just from playing around with it? I don't know, it might be something worth playing around with, and I think this is a really shining, beautiful example of part spam here, because yeah, it's just being used in some phenomenal ways on this mock, and it's creating some beautiful, unique textures and unique looks, and just a really unique mock in general. It's gorgeous. The pop of red from the cape is also very nice. I also quite enjoy the fact that this mock doesn't really have legs. It kind of does, but it's also sort of more like floating, and that's just the look of this character here, and that's pretty cool in my opinion. I always sort of think that's a good idea. If, you know, you don't want to just build a leg design, maybe you're struggling with the leg design on a mock, have them be floating like this. You could just build a stand out of Lego pieces. You could buy an action figure stand or something, or just, I don't know, rest it on top of something in your Lego room. I don't know, whatever works. But yeah, floating legs like that, really, really cool aesthetic. So yeah, just in general, this is a beautiful mock, and it's using some techniques really nicely. So that's it for this episode of the Bionicle Inspiration Series. I hope you very much enjoyed. If you want to check out some of the other stuff that these builders have done, check the links in the description below, and you can see all sorts of things that these very talented builders built, and you can always let them know your thoughts on their mocks as well, because, hey, you may as well give them a bit of love. They very much deserve it. I couldn't do these episodes without them. Additionally, in the description is links to my own social media, so you can see some of the stuff I've got going on over there if you want to check that out. Additionally, as well, in the description is links to my Patreon, so if you want some bonus content, that's the perfect place to go to. You can have access to over I think it's like 45 podcasts at this point. It's growing. I pretty much do them weekly at this point. So yeah, if you want weekly podcasts, more unique content, just general discussion with me, behind the scenes stuff, or things like that. Or if you just want to check out the private Discord server that you have access if you're a patron, you can have some private chats with me and join the discussion over there, which is always good fun. There's some lovely people in there as well. So it's worth doing if you're interested. But only if you're interested. I'm not going to force you to do anything. So don't you worry. Anyway, thank you very much for watching this the submission email, I almost forgot. If you want to submit some of your own mocks to the show, you can do so through the submission email. It's on your screen right now. It's also in the description below, so you can copy and paste it. Chuck some images, chuck some info, whatever you want to put in your email, put it there, and then I'll put it on the show. Don't forget to put your name in there if you want as well, because sometimes your name can be different from your email name, completely up to you. Whatever you feel is important to put in there, make sure to put it in. That's truly it now for this episode. I hope you very much enjoyed. I will see you next week for more Bionicle Inspiration Series stuff. And also, you might see some other really cool videos coming out soon on the channel because I'm on my Christmas break. It's a good time. And I'm really hungry to do some more videos. So expect some more unique content. Expect some more Bionicle content. Also expect the top 10 Bionicle mocks of the year as well, because that is a video that I'll be doing before the year is out. And you should see that relatively soon. So get excited for that one. Thank you very much for listening. Love you tons. See you soon. Happy building. Bye for now.